Chapter 1. The Girl Who Served the Moon. The air smelled of wax and silver dust. Beneath the chandeliers, Aria scrubbed the marble floor until her knuckles burned raw. Each stroke echoed in the grand hall, steady, quiet, like her life. At the far end, laughter spilled from the servants' corner. "The mating ceremonies tonight," Mira whispered, her voice sharp as gossip always was. "They say the king will finally claim his fated mate. Can you imagine being chosen by Draven himself?" Aria forced a smile that didn't reach her eyes. "I'd rather not imagine at all." Because of that simple truth, hope hurt more than hunger. Still, her gaze drifted upward, tracing the banners draped in silver thread, each marked with the sigil of the moon pack. The Lycan King's world was carved in perfection, hers in obedience. Yet somewhere deep down, beneath the ache of servitude, she felt something stir, a whisper she'd long buried. "Dreamers get punished," old Marta had once warned. "Keep your head down, Aria." So she did, until the moonlight touched her locket. The small crystal at her throat pulsed, just once, soft, white, alive. Aria froze. Maybe it was her imagination. Maybe the Polish fumes were playing tricks. But then, the hall doors burst open. Guards swept through like shadows. "Prepare the banquet. The king approaches." Her breath caught. Her heart skipped. And just like that, everything changed. She didn't know what scared her more, the sound of his title, or the way her pulse answered it. By the time she lowered her eyes again, her world had already begun to tilt. The locket at her neck glowed faintly once more, unnoticed by her, as if the moon itself had chosen her name. Chapter 2. Whispers of a Mistake. That night, the castle shimmered under 1,000 lanterns. Aria's hands trembled as she carried the silver tray, her reflection dancing on the wine's surface. The scent of roasted meat and sweet spice filled the air, mixing with the low hum of power, the aura of Lycans in their prime. "Keep your head down," she whispered to herself. "Pour, bow, leave." Still, she could feel his presence before she saw him. Draven, the Lycan King. When he entered, the air shifted. Conversations stilled. The wolves bowed. His silver eyes gleamed beneath the chandeliers, cold and endless. As she poured wine into a noble's goblet, she heard her name, spoken not by a servant, not by any mortal tongue, but by the moon oracle. "Aria." The tray slipped from her hands. The crash rang like thunder. Every head turned. Her throat closed. It must be a mistake," she stammered, heat flooding her cheeks. The oracle's blind eyes shone with a light that made the crowd tremble. "The moon chooses. The bond is sealed." No matter how hard she tried, Aria couldn't breathe. She felt the pulse deep within her chest, a tether stretching between her and the king. Draven rose from his throne, muscles tense, jaw locked. The crowd parted as he stepped forward. Under the weight of his stare, the world narrowed. The air thickened. Their eyes met. Silver. Blue. The bond flared to life. Her heart skipped, then stuttered as though fate had spoken too loudly. But then, his expression hardened. "This cannot be," Draven said, voice low and sharp. "The moon has made a mistake." A murmur rippled through the hall. What followed was silence, so deep it seemed to echo. Aria's hands shook. "Please, I didn't—" He turned from her, his voice cutting like frost. "You are not my mate." The glow at her throat flickered weakly, as if the moon itself recoiled. And yet deep down she knew the truth. Something ancient had begun that neither of them could undo. Chapter 3. I Reject You. Before she could move, before she could breathe, Draven's words sliced through the air. "I reject you." The bond, alive and burning, snapped. Pain tore through her like claws. Her knees buckled. The world spun. She gasped, clutching her chest as invisible fire seared through her veins. Gasps filled the court. Some pitied. Others smirked. None helped. "Your Majesty," someone began. "Enough," Draven growled, the sound a thunderous command. But even his voice trembled, barely leashed rage. Or was it regret? The Moon Oracle's staff struck the marble. The bond cannot be undone. Yet the pain said otherwise. As the silence roared, Aria forced herself to stand. Her vision blurred, her breath came in ragged bursts. "I understand," she whispered. "I was never meant for you." And just like that, she turned and ran. Through corridors, down staircases, past startled guards who called her name. The night air hit her face, cold, wet, alive. Her tears mingled with the rain as she fled into the forest beyond the walls. Branches tore at her gown, mud sucked at her feet. Still, she ran. Behind her, whispers followed. The blood shadow, some called it. A curse that hunted rejected mates. Maybe it was fate, maybe punishment. She didn't know what scared her more, the dark whispering her name or the truth that she'd never belong anywhere again. The forest grew thicker, darker. The rain came harder, and in that moment, beneath the weeping sky, Aria swore she saw eyes watching her from the shadows. Golden, wild, waiting. The mark on her chest pulsed once, faint, but real. Something inside her shifted, and as the wind carried her name into the dark, the moonstone at her throat blazed one final time. Her story had only just begun. Chapter 4: The Forest That Hungered. The storm did not stop for her. It chased her through the trees, cold, biting, relentless. Branches clawed her arms as if the forest itself wanted to keep her. The scent of earth and blood mixed in the air. Her breath came in ragged bursts. "Keep moving," she whispered, voice trembling. "Don't stop now." But the shadows whispered back. Between one breath and the next, something howled. It wasn't just a wolf's cry, it was deeper, older, soaked in sorrow. The sound made her bones vibrate. She stumbled into a clearing, the rain turning silver under the full moon. Her gown clung to her skin, torn and heavy. The cold gnawed at her, but the pain in her chest burned hotter. Why did he reject me? Because she wasn't enough. A servant. A mistake. Her thoughts spun as thunder rolled overhead. And then, without warning, the forest went silent. No wind, no rain, no sound. Her breath caught. From the darkness, two golden eyes emerged, glowing, unblinking. Her heart skipped. A beat later, she whispered, "Who's there?" A low growl answered. The shape moved forward, massive, sleek, black as midnight. A wolf, but not just any wolf. Its presence crackled with power. Aria froze. Every instinct screamed run, but her body didn't listen. As if pulled by a string, she reached out. The beast growled, stepping closer until its hot breath ghosted against her skin. The scent, wild pine and smoke, wrapped around her. Her chest ached. Her soul knew this creature. "Draven?" she breathed. The wolf's gaze flickered. Pain, then denial, then fury. It snarled and turned, vanishing into the trees. Her knees gave out. She fell into the mud, trembling. Her locket burned against her throat. When she looked down, it glowed with blinding white light, then cracked straight through the middle. The forest howled again, and this time, the cry wasn't just distant. It was answering her. That night, beneath the storm and the moon's cold gaze, Aria's fate took root. Chapter 5: The Stranger by the Fire. By the time dawn broke, her limbs were numb, her lips blue. She woke to warmth, crackling fire, the smell of smoke, soft furs beneath her cheek. Her body jolted. Where am I?" "Safe," a voice said, deep, rough, familiar. Her gaze darted up. A man sat across the fire, broad shoulders, dark hair damp from rain, eyes shadowed by exhaustion. Draven, except not quite. He looked different. Human, yes, but wilder somehow. Aria pushed back. How did you find me?" He looked away. You were freezing to death. That didn't answer my question. Silence stretched. Finally, he said, I couldn't leave you out there. Her laugh broke, brittle. Oh, so the mighty Lycan King rejects me but rescues me anyway? His jaw tightened. You shouldn't have been chosen. Then why does it hurt? She whispered, voice cracking. Why does it still hurt, Draven? He didn't answer. Instead, he rose, moving to tend the fire. Muscles rippled under his soaked shirt. The faint scent of cedar and steel followed him, so distinctly him it made her dizzy. Aria stared into the flames, the memory of the beast's eyes flashing behind her eyelids. You were out there last night, weren't you? She asked softly. He froze. She knew the answer before he spoke. Go back to the castle, he said finally. Forget what you saw. Her voice trembled. What if I can't? He turned. Their eyes met, silver meeting blue, pain meeting defiance. For a heartbeat, neither looked away. The air thickened. Her breath caught. The bond pulsed between them, faint but alive. And just like that, everything changed. Chapter 6, The Mark Beneath the Skin. Come morning, the forest looked softer, gentler, almost pretending it hadn't hunted her. But beneath her skin, the mark throbbed. Slow, steady, impossible to ignore. Draven packed what little he had, a cloak, dried meat, a silver dagger. Every movement was precise, controlled. Where will you go? She asked. Where you can't follow. What's worse, she said, standing, is that you think I'd let you leave after what happened. He paused. You shouldn't care. Maybe I shouldn't, she whispered. But I do. The tension broke like a storm cloud. Draven's control slipped for half a second. His eyes flashed silver, fangs pressing against his lip before he turned away. Aria, he warned, voice low, dangerous. You don't know what I am. She stepped closer. Then tell me. His gaze burned into hers. A monster. A killer. A king cursed by the moon to never love again. Her heart ached. Then maybe I'm cursed too. For a long moment they stood in silence, breath mingling, the forest holding its breath. Between them, something cracked. The bond shimmered, alive again. Her chest ached, his jaw clenched, and then he whispered, You should run. Before she could ask why, the sound of footsteps echoed through the trees, dozens of them. Draven's eyes widened. Hunters. Her pulse raced. For you? For us. Chapter 7, Blood Moon Rising. The sky darkened early that night. Shadows danced between the trees, carrying steel and scent of death. Draven grabbed her wrist. Stay close. Her heart pounded as they sprinted through the forest. The bond burned brighter with each step. Arrows sliced through the air. One grazed her arm, another hit the tree beside her with a sickening thud. She stumbled. I can't. He caught her, lifting her effortlessly. Yes, you can. The growls came next. Wolves, twisted by corruption, serving the blood shadow. Draven set her down. His eyes glowed, his body trembling. Draven? He looked back once. Whatever happens, don't look away. And then, his bones shifted. His body stretched. The sound was both terrible and divine. Fur burst across his skin. His growl deepened, primal, wild. The transformation was agony and beauty fused together. Aria's breath caught as she watched, unable to move. Under the blood-red moon, the king took his true form, massive, black, untamed. The hunters closed in, the beast roared, and the forest obeyed. Chapter 8, The Wolf and the Flame. When the battle ended, silence fell heavy as smoke. Bodies littered the clearing, shadows fading under moonlight. Draven stood over them, bleeding, panting, alive. Aria ran to him. You're hurt! He shook his head, growl low, stubborn. but blood streaked his side. "Please," she whispered, pressing her hand against his wound. "Let me help." His body trembled beneath her touch. The air thickened, the bond flared. Her wolf, silent until now, stirred. She felt it deep in her bones, the pull, the need, the belonging. Draven's head lowered, his breath brushing her cheek. Her voice trembled. "Tell me this isn't real." He didn't answer. Instead, he shifted back, half man, half beast, trembling in the aftermath of battle. And just like that, everything changed. The moon glowed brighter. The mark on her chest burned, spreading light beneath her skin. Draven reached for her face, voice raw. "I told you to stay away." Tears glimmered in her eyes. "And I told you I couldn't." In the quiet that followed, he leaned in, hesitant, broken, needing her more than breath. Their lips met beneath the crimson moon. And somewhere in the shadows, the blood shadow smiled, because destiny had finally taken the bait. Chapter 9. The blood shadow awakens. The kiss burned through her like sunlight on frozen glass, pure, painful, consuming. And then, the earth trembled. Draven pulled back instantly, eyes wild, breath ragged. "No," he whispered, voice breaking. The moonlight around them bled crimson, the air thick with dark mist. The ground cracked open, exhaling cold. Aria stumbled back. "What's happening?" He looked toward the forest's edge, his body tense, his pupils narrowing into slits. "It's here." The mist shifted, taking shape. First a ripple, then a figure cloaked in shadow. Its voice slithered through the air. "Little King," it hissed. "You broke the seal." Draven growled, stepping in front of her. "You have no power here." The laughter that followed was like glass breaking. "No power? You just fed me your bond." Aria clutched her chest as pain seared through her mark, white light twisting into black. She gasped. "Draven, what's happening to me?" His eyes widened. "It's feeding on the bond. On us." The blood shadow reached forward, whispering her name. "Aria, you carry the moon's flame, but even fire burns when it's chained to darkness." Draven shifted partially, claws erupting, fangs bared. "Touch her, and I'll tear you apart." "Too late," it said softly. "You already have." The shadow exploded outward, swallowing the clearing in red mist. And then, darkness. Chapter 10. The Dream of Silver Chains. Aria floated between sleep and pain, drifting through a dream that didn't feel like hers. Silver chains coiled around her wrists. The moon above wept blood. A woman's voice whispered through the haze. "Child of the flame, awaken." Her eyes opened to endless light. A figure stood before her, tall, regal, cloaked in white. The moon goddess. Aria fell to her knees. "Why me?" she choked out. "Why this?" The goddess's gaze was sorrowful. "Because you were never meant to serve. You were born to heal what was broken." "What's broken?" "The bond," the goddess whispered. "Long ago, Draven defied the moon. He loved a mortal and lost her to death. His curse was to never love again. But you?" Aria's breath trembled. "I'm her, aren't I?" The goddess smiled faintly. "A soul reborn, but the blood shadow has taken root in your mark. It seeks to finish what it began." Aria looked down. The mark pulsed black. "How do I stop it?" "By choosing what he could not," the goddess said softly. "Love without fear, or destroy him to save the world." Her heart broke at the choice. There has to be another way. The light dimmed. There never is. The vision shattered, pulling her back into the cold world. Chapter 11. Bound in darkness. She woke with a gasp, surrounded by silence. Draven sat nearby, head bowed, body trembling. His claws were slick with dried blood. "Draven," she whispered. He turned, his eyes hollow, his voice rough. You were gone for hours. I thought... His voice cracked. I thought I lost you. You almost did. She swallowed hard. The blood shadows inside me. His jaw clenched. Then I'll tear it out. You can't. It's feeding on our bond. He froze. So if I stay, it grows stronger. He exhaled, a sound between a growl and despair. Then I'll leave. No. Aria, she shook her head, stepping closer. If you leave, it wins. The goddess told me the truth. You're cursed because you loved once, and you still do. His eyes flickered, silver brightening. You don't understand. I do, she said softly. You love me, and that terrifies you. Silence. Heavy. Electric. Then he whispered, yes. The word broke something inside both of them. The mark on her chest flared. She screamed as the blood shadow's voice echoed through her veins. Love me, and I will destroy you. Her body arched, light and darkness colliding inside her. Draven grabbed her shoulders, desperate. Aria, stay with me. Through the pain, she whispered, then fight it with me. And the world exploded into moonlight. Chapter 12. The Memory of Fire. They found themselves in a realm between worlds, where stars bled silver and time stood still. Aria's hair flowed like flame. Draven's body glowed with runes of moonlight. The blood shadow hovered before them, vast and vengeful. This is your legacy, it sneered. Your love unmade me once. It will unmake you again. Draven growled, stepping forward. Then we'll die together. Aria's hand caught his. No, we live. Her mark pulsed. The shadow lunged. Draven met it head-on, claws colliding with darkness, every strike burning his flesh. Aria closed her eyes and reached inward, to the locket at her throat, to the piece of moonstone that had never truly died. Light isn't destroyed, she whispered. It's reborn. The stone shattered, releasing a surge of white flame that engulfed them both. The blood shadow screamed, its form unraveling. Draven collapsed. Aria fell beside him, catching his face in trembling hands. Stay with me, please. He smiled weakly. You always were stubborn. Say it, she whispered through tears. His voice was faint, but true. I love you. The last echo of darkness dissolved into light, and the bond, once broken, sealed itself anew. Chapter 13. The Dawn. After the storm. When Aria opened her eyes, the forest was silent. No blood, no mist. Only morning light. Draven lay beside her, breathing, alive. She brushed his hair from his forehead. You came back. He blinked open silver eyes. You pulled me back. The mark on her chest now glowed faint gold, no longer cursed. Blessed. She smiled, tears in her eyes. What happens now? Draven sat up slowly, gaze sweeping the peaceful clearing. Now, we rebuild what we destroyed. She reached for his hand. Together? His fingers closed over hers, firm and warm. Always. The moon still hung faint in the morning sky, pale and quiet, but watching. And somewhere deep in the forest, where shadows used to whisper, the air finally rested, because the girl who served the moon had become its chosen flame, and the king who feared love had found salvation in it. Their story was not an ending. It was a beginning written in light. Chapter 14. The Return of the King. The sun had never felt so heavy. When Draven and Aria stepped out of the forest, the world held its breath. The Lycan guards waiting at the tree line froze at the sight of their king, bloodied, torn, but alive, with a servant girl at his side. Murmurs rose like wind over dry grass. Is that her? She's human. No, she can't be. The cursed girl. Draven's voice cut through the noise, low and commanding. Enough. The crowd fell silent. Aria kept her gaze down, every heartbeat echoing in her ears. The mark beneath her collarbone burned faintly gold, a reminder of the night that had changed everything. They entered the grand hall, and the Moon Council was already waiting. The oracle stood at the center, her eyes silver white. "You broke the ancient seal," she said softly. "The bond was never meant to be reforged." Draven straightened, voice steady. "It wasn't reforged. It was rewritten." Gasps rippled through the court. Aria lifted her head then, meeting the oracle's gaze. "The blood shadow is gone. The moon chose balance over punishment." "Balance," one councilman hissed. "You threaten the order of our kind." Draven's growl rolled like thunder. "Our kind needs change, and this," he took Aria's hand, "is the beginning of it." The oracle's lips parted, as if to protest. But the moonstone at Aria's neck flared softly, silencing the room. In that moment, they all saw it. Not darkness, not defiance, but light. The mark of the moon's chosen. Still, as the silence stretched, the oracle whispered, "The gods will not be silent." And just like that, the next storm began. Chapter 15. The Trial of Light and Shadow. That night, the castle glowed beneath a silver sky, but peace was a lie. Aria stood alone on the balcony, the wind cold against her skin. Below, the courtyard burned with torches. Protesters, wolves from rival clans, all demanding justice, claiming she had bewitched their king. Draven joined her quietly. "They won't stop until someone bleeds." She turned to him, eyes full of quiet sorrow. "Then let it be me." He caught her wrist, grip firm but trembling. "Don't ever say that again." Her voice cracked. "You said it yourself. Our bond changed everything. Maybe the world isn't ready for it." His expression softened. "Then we'll make it ready." The doors behind them opened. The oracle entered, her cloak rippling like mist. "The gods have spoken," she said solemnly. "A trial will decide your fate. At dawn." "Trial?" Draven's jaw tightened. "For what crime?" "Loving what was forbidden." The words hung like ash. Aria stepped forward, steady despite the fear curling inside her. "Then I'll face them. If the moon gave me this mark, it's not a curse. It's proof." The oracle studied her for a long moment. "You speak as though you've seen the goddess herself." "I did," Aria said softly, "and she wept for us." The oracle's composure cracked just slightly. "Then may she weep again when the truth is revealed." When she left, the air seemed colder. Draven pulled Aria close, his forehead resting against hers. "If they try to take you from me," she placed a hand over his heart. "Then we fight together." Outside, the first thunder rolled. The storm had come to their door. Chapter 16. The Moon's Judgment. By the time the sun rose, the sky was blood red. The court gathered in the moonlit amphitheater, ancient stone glistening with dew. The oracle stood at the center, the sacred mirror before her, said to reveal the truth of the soul. Aria stepped into the circle. Draven followed. "Aria of the Servants' Hall," the oracle intoned. "Do you swear to speak the truth of your heart?" Aria nodded. "I do." The mirror shimmered. 1,000 reflections danced within it, her fear, her love, her pain. "I loved him when I shouldn't have," she said, voice trembling but sure. "But love doesn't destroy, it redeems." Murmurs rippled. The mirror glowed brighter. The oracle turned to Draven. "And you, King of Wolves, do you swear the same?" He stepped closer to the mirror. "I swore once to protect my kind from weakness. But I was the weak one. I rejected what the moon gave me because I feared losing it." The mirror flared, silver flames licking its edges. "Then show us the truth," the oracle commanded. The mirror cracked. A beam of light erupted, revealing their intertwined marks, glowing gold and silver, two halves of the same flame. The oracle fell to her knees. "The prophecy," she whispered. "It wasn't a warning. It was a promise." The crowd gasped. Aria's mark burned bright. "We are not the end," she said softly. "We are the beginning." And just like that, the mirror shattered, light spilling through the amphitheater like dawn. The crowd bowed one by one until only silence remained. Draven reached for her hand. It's over. But deep down, she knew the truth. It's only beginning. Chapter 17. The Bond Reborn. The days that followed blurred into light and whispers. The council dissolved the old laws. Servants were no longer bound by birth. The moon's chosen were honored, not hidden. Yet peace never came easy. Some wolves refused to kneel. Clans splintered. Blood was spilled on the borders. Still, through every battle, Aria fought beside Draven, her fire to his fury. One night, beneath a full moon, he found her in the courtyard, staring at the stars. "You miss the quiet," he said softly. She smiled faintly. "Sometimes, but then I remember, the quiet never saw me." He stepped behind her, arms circling her waist. "And now the world does. Do you regret it?" He paused. "Loving you?" He laughed quietly. "Never. Regret lives where courage dies, and I'm done dying." She turned to him, eyes shimmering with light. "Then live with me." And when their lips met, the moon itself seemed to rise higher, its light spilling over the castle like a blessing. Chapter 18. The Flame and the Moon. Years later, stories of the Moon King and his mortal queen spread through every pack. They said her laughter could calm the fiercest beasts. They said his rage could move the tides. But those who saw them together said the truth was simpler. They were two souls that refused to break, even when the world demanded it. Every full moon, the sky shimmered with gold, as if the moon herself smiled. Because the girl who served the moon had become her flame, and the king who rejected love had become her light. Their bond had rewritten the rules of destiny, and just like that, everything changed. Chapter 19. The Night. The moon wept. The night it began, the moon bled silver tears. Aria woke to the sound of thunder, though the sky was clear. The castle trembled, not with battle, but with something older, something calling. She sat up, breath shallow, eyes glowing faintly in the dark. The moonstone at her throat pulsed like a heartbeat. "Draven," she whispered. He stirred beside her, instincts flaring. "What is it?" "Listen." The silence that followed wasn't empty. It whispered. 1,000 voices beneath the earth, soft, pleading, ancient. Before either could move, the moonstone cracked. Light burst across the room, blinding, cold, alive. The oracle's voice echoed through the bond. "The moon weeps for what was sealed, and what must rise again." Draven cursed under his breath, pulling Aria into his arms as the walls trembled. "No, not again." But Aria's voice was far away now, her pupils silvered over. The shadow wasn't destroyed, it was divided. The words left her lips before she even knew she'd spoken them. And just like that, the peace they'd built shattered. Chapter 20. The Prophecy of Two Flames. By dawn, the oracle had returned, older, thinner, and frightened. They met in the moon hall, its marble floor still cracked from the last war. "The moonstone has split," the oracle said, her trembling hands revealing the twin shards. "One burns gold, one black as ash. Two flames, one bond." Draven frowned. "You're saying the shadow lives." "I'm saying it awakens." Aria stepped forward, her voice steady despite the chill crawling up her spine. "And it's tied to us." The oracle's gaze was grave. "Yes, your bond was never meant to hold both light and dark. The balance is fracturing. You must find the second flame before it consumes the first." Draven's eyes darkened. "And where is it?" The oracle turned toward the great moon mural on the wall. Once a symbol of peace, now streaked with crimson. "Hidden in the blood veil. the place even the moonlight fears. Aria's heart skipped. That valley doesn't exist on any map. Exactly. A silence hung between them, heavy, unspoken, dangerous. Finally, Draven said, "Then we go there." The oracle's expression turned sorrowful. "Together you may find it, but together you may also awaken something worse." Still, Aria reached for his hand. "Then let fate try us again." Chapter 21. The Blood Veil. The journey to the Blood Veil began beneath a moonless sky. The forest whispered as they passed, branches curling as if to watch them go. Even the air felt different, thick with unseen eyes. By the time they reached the veil, the world itself seemed to change. The grass turned black. The rivers ran dark red. The scent of iron filled the air. Aria's steps slowed. "This place feels alive." Draven sniffed the wind, his wolf close beneath his skin. "It is. This is where the old gods were buried." Before she could answer, the ground trembled, a heartbeat deep beneath their feet. Without warning, shadows rose from the earth like smoke. They didn't attack. They bowed. And a voice, deep, familiar, echoed through the veil. "You carry my flame." Aria's breath caught. "Who's there?" The air shimmered, and a figure emerged, tall, cloaked in moonlight and blood. His eyes were the color of dying fire. Draven stepped forward, growl rumbling low. "Show yourself." The figure smiled faintly. "I am the other half, King of Wolves, the part your bond forgot." The world tilted. Aria clutched her chest as her mark burned black and gold. "The second flame," she gasped. The man inclined his head. "You call it shadow, I call it truth." And just like that, the ground split open. Chapter 22. The Hollow Throne. What followed was chaos. The blood veil opened into a cavern of light and fire, an ancient throne room buried beneath time. Aria fell to her knees, visions flooding her mind, flashes of another life, another bond. A woman who looked like her, a wolf with Draven's eyes, and a promise whispered beneath the moon. If light and shadow ever meet, the world will burn. Draven caught her just as she started to fall. "Aria!" Her eyes snapped open, now glowing with both silver and black. "I remember," she whispered. "We've done this before." The figure smiled. "And every time you choose light, but light alone cannot hold the world." Draven bared his teeth. "You're wrong." "Am I?" The man stepped closer, shadows curling around him like smoke. "She carries my mark now. Soon, my power." Aria's body shook as the black mark spread across her skin. "Draven," she gasped, "I can't stop it." He cupped her face, voice breaking. "You can, you're stronger than him." But she wasn't sure. The voice in her head was louder now, whispering her name like a song. And in that moment, her world tilted again. The man's form began to dissolve into mist, merging with her shadow. Draven roared, reaching for her, but his hand met only light. "Aria!" The world went dark. Chapter 23. The Lost Queen. When she woke, the moon was gone. Aria stood alone on a field of ash. The air was silent, heavy with grief. Her reflection shimmered in a nearby pool, one eye gold, the other black. A voice echoed through her mind. "You can't run from what you are." She closed her eyes. "Then I'll face it." But as she turned, the world shifted again. The blood veil gone, replaced by a ruined temple. Torches flickered to life one by one, revealing walls carved with her name. Aria of the Moon, the Flame and the Shadow, the one who breaks and remakes. She touched the words, heart pounding. "What am I?" And the answer came in her own voice, distant and cold. "You are the balance, and balance demands sacrifice." Tears blurred her vision. No, not again. But deep down she knew the truth. To save the world, she might have to destroy it. Chapter 24. The world between weeks later, Draven stood at the edge of the blood veil, his eyes hollow. The council called her lost. The oracle said her spirit had merged with the moon, but he didn't believe in endings. Every night he came here, waiting, watching, listening. And one night the wind shifted. He heard her voice, soft, faint, carried on the night air. Draven. He froze. The moonstone around his neck pulsed once, half gold, half black. He looked up, and for a heartbeat he saw her, standing in the mist, smiling, calling him home. And just like that, the world began to turn again. Chapter 25. The Hollow Sky. The night had forgotten its stars. Weeks had turned to months since the veil collapsed, yet the moon refused to rise. The Pax whispered that the Moon Queen had fallen, that her spirit was gone forever. But Draven knew better. He stood upon the castle's highest tower, cloak whipping in the wind. The moonstone hung against his chest, cracked and faintly glowing. It pulsed in rhythm with his heartbeat, and somewhere far away, he could feel her. Aria, he whispered into the night. Wherever you are, hold on. Behind him, footsteps approached. It was the oracle, her once bright eyes dim. She is beyond the veil, my king, she said softly. That realm was not meant for the living. Draven's jaw tightened. Then I'll become what I must. Her staff trembled in her grasp. You would defy the moon itself? I would defy the universe, he growled, if it means bringing her back. The oracle hesitated, then slowly reached into her robes, drawing out an obsidian dagger carved with lunar runes. There is one way, she said, but it requires a toll. Draven took the blade, the weight of it cold and heavy in his hand. Tell me what I must give. Your soul. He didn't even blink. Then it's already hers. And with that, the storm began to rise. Chapter 26. The Realm of Echoes. Aria drifted in a place where time had no meaning. Light and darkness danced around her like breath, endless, eternal. The ground was made of mist. The sky was made of memory. Sometimes she thought she saw faces. Her mother's smile, Draven's eyes, the oracle's hand reaching through light. But they vanished like ripples. She was alone. And yet, not. A familiar voice whispered through the haze. Do you understand now, little flame? Aria turned. The shadow stood before her, his form half real, half void. What do you want from me? He smiled faintly. Not want, offer. An offer? She echoed. He extended his hand. Rule with me. Between life and death, between moon and night. Together we can end the cycle of suffering. Her pulse quickened. And if I refuse? His eyes darkened. Then the light you love will die trying to reach you. At that, her heart stopped. Draven. The shadow's smile widened. Yes, even now, he tears through the veil for you. Foolish, beautiful wolf. Aria's chest burned as her mark, once dormant, began to glow again. Then I'll meet him halfway. And with that, she turned and ran toward the light, toward the faint echo of his heartbeat calling her name. Chapter 27. The descent Draven stood at the altar of the moonstone, the dagger gleaming in his hand. All around him, the temple quaked as the oracle chanted the old words. Blood of the first wolf, heart of the bound king. Open the gate between shadow and soul. He plunged the blade into his chest. Light exploded, silver and red, spiraling into the sky. When he opened his eyes again, the world was gone. He stood in a wasteland of whispers, the veil stretched before him, endless and alive. He could hear her. Aria! The mist stirred. Draven? He ran toward the sound, each step heavy, each breath burning. Shadows clawed at his skin, trying to hold him back, but he tore through them like a storm. And then he saw her, standing in the distance, haloed in pale fire. Aria, Draven. Their names met between worlds, and the veil began to tremble. Chapter 28. The Unmaking. When they touched, the universe broke. Light and shadow collided, spiraling in a violent storm. The ground cracked, the air screamed, and the veil itself began to unravel. Draven held her close, voice raw. "I told you, I'd find you." Tears burned her eyes. "You shouldn't have come. The shadow, let him try." The shadow's voice thundered through the sky. "You would destroy the balance for love?" Draven glared upward. "Love is the balance." Lightning flashed. The shadow appeared vast and terrible, his form made of smoke and sorrow. "You cannot both exist," he said. "One must burn for the other to live." Aria shook her head. "Then we burn together." She reached for Draven, pressing her palm against his chest, over the wound where his soul bled light. "Whatever comes next," she whispered, "we face it as one." And together, they stepped into the storm. Chapter 29. The Moon Reborn. When the storm cleared, silence fell. The world above gasped as the moon returned, not white but half silver, half black, glowing with perfect balance. The Lycan Kingdom awoke beneath its light, wolves kneeling as the air filled with power. In the temple, the oracle opened her eyes, tears of awe streaking her face. They've done it. They've become the bond. High above, in the twilight between worlds, two figures stood upon the edge of the new moon. Aria's hand was in Draven's. Her eyes shimmered gold and black, his, silver and shadowed. They were no longer mortal, no longer bound by fate. They were fate. "Do you think they'll remember us?" Aria asked softly. Draven smiled faintly. "Every time the moon rises, they'll remember love strong enough to break the gods." She leaned into him, whispering, "Then let it rise forever." And beneath their eternal light, the world turned, reborn. Chapter 30. The Girl Beneath the Silver Sky. The moon was too bright that night, brighter than it had any right to be. Lyra pressed her palms into the cold earth, eyes tilted upward as silver light poured across the valley. Every full moon made her chest ache, as if something ancient was clawing inside her ribs, begging to be remembered. The other Omegas said she was strange. Maybe she was. Because when the light touched her skin, the mark over her heart began to glow, soft and pulsing, like the heartbeat of the moon itself. From the edge of the training field, the guards laughed. "Hey, Moonchild! Stop dreaming before the Alpha catches you stargazing again!" She bit back a retort, keeping her gaze lowered. No matter how hard she tried, she could never blend in. No matter how quiet she kept, the mark always betrayed her. And tonight, beneath that too bright sky, she felt something watching her. The air thickened. A whisper rode the wind. "Find the blood of the first bond." Her pulse jumped. The voice wasn't human. It slithered through her mind like shadow and smoke. Before she could move, a soft growl echoed from the forest line. Her breath caught. Golden eyes blinked from the dark, steady, unblinking, familiar in a way that made her bones ache. The wolf stepped out, fur black as a moonless night, and just like that, everything changed. Chapter 31. Echoes of the Forgotten. By the time dawn bled across the horizon, Lyra was trembling beneath the old willow. The wolf was gone, but its scent lingered, smoke, pine, and something ancient. She swore she'd imagined it, until she saw the claw mark carved into the dirt, a spiral, just like the one etched into her birthmark. That's why she went to see the old seer that morning. The woman's hut smelled of sage and storm water. "You've seen him," the seer murmured before Lyra could speak. the watcher of the old blood. How do you know that? Because your soul remembers what your mind has forgotten, the old woman said softly. You are of the moon-bound line, the daughter of destiny. Lyra froze. That's a myth. The seer smiled. So was love between a king and a servant girl. Until it wasn't. The words struck her like thunder. Before she could ask more, the ground trembled. From the east, black clouds coiled unnaturally fast. What's happening? The seer's eyes went distant. The shadow stirs again. The blood has begun to seek its vessel. Lyra's mark burned. The faint echo of a howl rippled across the valley, low, mournful, and ancient. And somewhere beyond the horizon, something woke up. Chapter 32. The Alpha's Heir. The following night, Lyra's life changed again, because of him. Ronan, the new Alpha heir, returned to the pack after years of exile. Tall, dark-eyed, scarred by war. His arrival sent ripples through the ranks, but when his gaze met Lyra's, the world tilted. Her breath stuttered. His scent, cedar and lightning, hit her like a storm she couldn't outrun. What's your name? He asked, voice low and rough. Lyra. He studied her mark, visible just above her collarbone. You smell like prophecy. She frowned. That's not a compliment. It wasn't meant to be. Despite that, something pulsed between them, magnetic, dangerous, inevitable. That night, as the pack feasted, she caught him watching her again, and when she slipped outside for air, he followed. You should stay away from the woods, he warned. There are whispers of shadows moving through the trees. She swallowed. You've seen them too? Ronan's jaw tightened. Not seen. Felt. They're hunting for someone. The mark beneath her skin flared like fire. Who? His eyes burned gold. You. Chapter 33. The Blood Awakens. By the time the next moon rose, Lyra's dreams were filled with fire and silver light. Each night, she saw flashes of a woman with hair like starlight, of a man whose eyes blazed like molten silver, of wolves kneeling before them, of blood, moonlight, and love stronger than death. When she told Ronan, his expression hardened. Those aren't dreams. They're memories. What are you talking about? Your blood remembers things it shouldn't, he said, stepping closer. You're tied to the first bond, the one that almost destroyed the werewolf realm. Destroyed? He nodded. The king who defied fate and the servant who carried the moon's power. They burned the world for each other. Her voice trembled. And you think I'm... Not think. His hand brushed her mark. I know. Her heart raced. The contact burned, electric, alive, fated. In the silence that followed, the wind carried a low, guttural whisper. The shadow returns. Blood calls to blood. Her wolf stirred, and deep within her, ancient power flickered awake. Chapter 34. The Moonbound Reclaiming. The night it happened, the sky bled silver. Lyra ran through the forest, heart pounding, Ronan close behind. The ground trembled. The moon glowed red. Shadows rose from the earth like living smoke, their whispers slicing through the trees. You can't fight them, she shouted. I don't plan to, he growled. I plan to end them. As the first shadow lunged, Ronan shifted midair, massive, black, eyes burning gold. His growl shook the night. Lyra stumbled back, power thrumming through her veins. Her mark blazed, light spilling from her chest like molten moonfire. The shadows screamed. Visions flooded her mind. Aria's tears, Draven's roar, the bond that refused to die. She felt their strength pour into her, ancient and unbreakable. Lyra. Ronan's voice tore through the chaos. You have to finish it. She raised her hands, power blazing brighter than the moon itself. By the blood of the first bond. The light exploded. When it faded, silence fell. The shadows were gone. Ronan stood before her, panting, his wolf receding. Her body shook. What was that? He stepped closer, brushing her hair from her face. It was destiny, he whispered, and it's only beginning. Her mark pulsed once more, slow, steady, alive. The blood shadow had been defeated. For now. But beneath the earth something darker stirred, and the moon, watching from above, shone like an open eye that would not close. Chapter 35. When the earth remembered. The night after the battle, silence lay over the valley. Too still. Too deep. Lyra stood by the ruins of the ancient stone circle, moonlight spilling over her like frost. The air still smelled of burnt ash and wild magic. Ronan was behind her, leaning on a cracked pillar, his chest rising and falling with quiet exhaustion. It's over, he said softly. But deep down, she knew the truth. No, it isn't. Because the ground beneath her feet throbbed like a heartbeat, slow, ancient, angry. The blood shadow hadn't died. It had only gone deeper. What's worse, she whispered, it's learning. The wind shifted, carrying a faint whisper that didn't belong to the night. We are never gone. We are what you deny. Lyra's skin prickled. The mark on her chest flickered. Ronan took her hand, grounding her. You're shaking. I feel them. Her voice cracked. Every scream. Every death. Every memory from the first war. He drew her closer, forehead resting against hers. Then we'll fight again. Together. In that moment, as the moon dipped behind a cloud, the valley exhaled, like the earth itself bracing for what came next, and just like that, everything began again. Chapter 36. The Moon's Chosen. By the time dawn came, the world was already changing. The rivers turned silver under sunlight. Wolves across the land woke from dreams of blood and starlight, howling to a name they didn't know. Lyra's. At the pack fortress, the elders gathered. Fear hung thick as smoke. She's awakening what should never rise, snarled Elder Terran. The girl carries a curse. Ronan stepped forward, his voice a growl. She carries hope. Hope destroyed kingdoms before. Another elder spat. Do not repeat their mistake. Lyra stood silent, her gaze steady. I am not Aria, and he is not Draven, but their story still beats inside us. Maybe it's time to finish what they started. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Outside, thunder rolled. Then the moon oracle appeared, her eyes glowing white, her robes whispering like water. The blood shadow cannot be slain, she intoned. It must be bound. How? Lyra asked. Through the same bond that birthed it, love willing to burn, to die, and to rise again. The words struck like lightning. Ronan turned to Lyra. If binding it means losing you won't, she said, her eyes shining with tears and moonlight. Because love like ours doesn't end. It transforms. And somewhere above, the moon brightened, as if it listened. Chapter 37. The Shadow Returns. That night, the sky bled red. Clouds spiraled around the moon like smoke. The forest groaned. From the soil, shadows crawled upward, taking form. Dozens, then hundreds. Lyra and Ronan stood side by side at the edge of the clearing. The pack behind them. Fear thick in the air. Ronan's wolf surfaced, his body half-shifted, eyes glowing gold. Stay behind me. Lyra shook her head. No. We end this together. The first shadow lunged. Ronan met it mid-air, claws slashing through smoke and memory. But for everyone he tore apart, another formed. Lyra's mark burned until she screamed. Light burst from her skin, raw, wild, unstoppable. The earth shook, trees splintered. "Lyra!" Ronan shouted, voice drowned by wind. She fell to her knees, hands pressed to the ground. "They're not just shadows," she gasped. "They're pieces of us, every fear, every hatred that love left behind." "Then take it back," he growled. "Take it and turn it into light." Her tears fell, shining like silver rain. The shadows hesitated, and in that heartbeat of silence, she rose. Chapter 38. The Bond Eternal. The moon split the clouds, pouring silver fire over them both. Ronan stood battered, bleeding, his wolf flickering beneath his skin. Lyra glowed with light so bright it hurt to look at. "Tell me what to do," he panted. "Trust me." Her voice was steady, though her hands shook. "This bond, it's not meant to enslave. It's meant to free." He took her face in his hands, his touch trembling. "If you burn, I burn with you. Then we burn together." Their lips met, and the world erupted. Light roared between them, silver and gold and crimson. Every wolf in the realm howled in unison. The blood shadow screamed, its tendrils thrashing, then fracturing into dust, pulled upward toward the moon. As the last wisp vanished, silence fell. The earth stilled. Ronan sank to his knees, cradling her. "Lyra." Her body shimmered, the mark on her chest glowing softer now. "It's done," she whispered. "But I can't stay." He shook his head. "No." Her fingers brushed his cheek. "Don't mourn me. I'm not gone. Just changed." And then she was light, rising, scattering like moonfire across the night sky. Chapter 39. The Moon Remembers. A century later, the world still spoke her name. Lyra, the moonbound. The girl who saved the realms and became the light that guided every wolf's soul. Ronan never took another mate. Each night, he stood beneath the silver sky, head tilted back, whispering to the stars. And sometimes, when the wind was soft, he heard her laugh. "Still watching me?" he'd murmur. Always the wind seemed to answer. The packs flourished, the old wounds healed. But every full moon, when the light was too bright and the air too still, wolves swore they saw two shadows dancing beneath the trees, one dark, one silver. Legends say the moon itself burns brighter because it remembers them. Because love like theirs doesn't die, it transforms, it becomes eternal.